Good evening and welcome. It's 8 p.m. on the clock. Time for the news on NDTV. I am Ankit Tyagi. These are the headlines. Supreme Court stops short of legalizing queer marriage. Supreme Court also denies adoption rights to same-sex couple by 3-2 order. Top court puts the ball in the government's court to make changes in the Special Marriage Act. Death toll crosses 4,000 mark as conflict between Israel and Hamas enters day 11. Diplomatic stalemate continues on aid for Gaza. United States President Joe Biden to visit Israel on Wednesday. It's raining promises in poll-bound Madhya Pradesh. Congress releases Manifesto of 59 promises. OBC, women and youth find special focus. BJP rejects Congress guarantees as empty promises. Tragedy again at cracker hub of Sivakasi in Tamil Nadu. 11, including 9 women dead, 2 injured in a fire at a cracker factory. Chief Minister Stalin announces 3 lakh compensation for the dead. ISRO test flight for Gaganyaan on Saturday. Prime Minister, meanwhile, reviews progress of 2025 manned mission. Veteran actor Waheeda Rehman honoured with Dada Saheb Phalke Award. Alia Bhatt and Allu Arjun win Best Actor and Actress Award at the National Film Awards. The Supreme Court today stopped short of legalizing marriage equality but stressed that an individual's right to enter into a union cannot be restricted on the basis of their sexual orientation. The 5-judge bench came up with 4 judgments differing primarily on the question of adoption for queer couples. The judges asked the centre to proceed with the formulation of a committee to address practical concerns of same-sex couples like getting ration cards, pension, gratuity and succession issues.
A setback for gay rights in India as Supreme Court on Tuesday refused to legalize same-sex marriage. The 5-judge Constitution bench upheld the rights of queer couples under the existing laws, but refused to read down or read words into the Special Marriage Act, guaranteeing marriage equality. The court said that it's for the Parliament and state legislatures to enact laws recognizing and regulating queer marriages.
I'll begin by reading out some of our portions. There's a degree of agreement and there's a degree of disagreement.
Writing the minority opinion in the landmark case, Chief Justice D.Y. Chandrachud along with Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul has held queerness is a natural phenomenon known to India since ancient times. It is not urban or elite. It's in the domain of Parliament and state legislatures to enact law recognizing and regulating queer marriage. This court cannot either strike down the constitutional validity of Special Marriage Act or read words into because of institutional limitations. The state has an obligation to recognize unions of queer couples and grant them benefit under law. Unmarried couples, including queer couples, can jointly adopt a child. Government shall not discriminate against the freedom of queer persons to enter into union with benefits under law. The court asked the government to set up a committee to look into the practical concerns regarding benefits and services to the same-sex couples. Justice Ravindra Bhatt, who formed the majority opinion in the judgment, along with Justice Hima Kohli and Justice Narasimha, has held that legal recognition of rights to union akin to marriage or civil union or conferring legal status upon the parties to the relation can be only through enacted law.
Consistent with the statement before this court during the course of the proceeding, the union shall set up a high-powered committee chaired by the Cabinet Secretary to undertake a comprehensive examination of all relevant factors, especially including those outlined above. In the conduct of such exercise, the concerned representatives of all stakeholders and the views of all states and union territories shall be taken into account.
Solicitor General Tushar Mehta, who represented Centre in the case, welcomed the judgment, stating it balances the interests of individuals with interests of the society.
Supreme Court, while stopping short of legalizing same-sex marriage, has accepted the submission of Centre that a committee under Union Cabinet Secretary will be formed to define rights and entitlements for queer couple who are in union. With camera person Ashwini Mehra, this is Arvind Gunasekar for NDTV.
Meanwhile, the LGBTQ community is disappointed, heartbroken after this decision of the Supreme Court. Take a look.
कि अगर आज फैसला आपके पक्ष में आता तो शायद आप प्रपोज करते आशीष को
वो प्लान मुझे नहीं मालूम था
ये प्लान था इनका हाँ
ये प्लान तो था पर अभी तो क्या हम लोग करेंगे वो पर कैमरे के सामने नहीं करेंगे अभी
For Mumbai's Ashish and Inder, the Supreme Court's judgment on queer marriages is heartbreaking.
इसमें ऑब्वियसली अगर आप बोलेंगे कि आप हताश हुए, निराश हुए, तो वो हुए. हमने भी सोचा था कि बहुत कुछ अलग तरीके का नतीजा निकलेगा, जो नहीं हुआ. तो ऑब्वियसली एक वो दुख होता है.
वील फाइट, हमेशा से फाइट किया है हम लोगों ने हमारे लिए, कम्युनिटी के लिए. एंड 377 में कितने साल हम लोगों ने फाइट किया, तब जाके वो हमारी लाइफ से बाहर गया था. तो दिस इज द फर्स्ट थिंग. हम लोग निराश नहीं हो रहे. वी विल फाइट, वी हैव होप.
As the Supreme Court left the decision of queer marriage rights to the government, queer activist Harish's mother Padma has made the fight her own.
मतलब I couldn't see कि कुछ दे रहे हैं, तो ऐसे बहुत बुरा लगा क्योंकि जब तक मैं इतना देखूं हरीश को कि इतना स्ट्रगल कर रहा है, इतना कुछ कर रहा है कम्युनिटी के लिए, और आज तो कुछ होना चाहिए था, उसका कुछ अच्छा नतीजा निकलना चाहिए था.
अगर गवर्नमेंट ने, ये गवर्नमेंट या बाकी के गवर्नमेंट्स ने कोई नतीजा नहीं लिया इसके ऊपर, तो हमें नतीजा लेना होगा इलेक्शंस के दौरान. तो हम उन लोगों को वोट करेंगे जो हमें सपोर्ट करते हैं.
In Delhi, outside the Supreme Court of India, many came prepared to witness history. But the Supreme Court's judgment disappointed many, like Rohin Bhatt, a lawyer for the petitioners.
The Supreme Court has abdicated all of its duties towards queer citizens. The court has relegated us to an apathetic executive and an unsympathetic legislature. Queer people are once again left in limbo with nowhere to go. But we will rise, we will rage, and we will love harder, and we'll come out stronger.
The feeling of dejection was shared by many.
Chief Justice saying the things that he did, I think they're really progressive things, but they're really inconsequential. What we wanted was translation of our lived experiences in the law. Imagine we are like pushed aside, we're thrown, we're gutted down by every day from people.
Even the positive directives that have been guaranteed by this judgment, they're in a minority. They're seriously, like Krishanu was saying, it's inconsequential right now.
I'm glad that they have asked for a committee.
After the historic 377 judgment in 2018, which decriminalized homosexuality, the right to marry was the next step for the community to feel equal and included in the society. This responsibility now lies with the Cabinet Committee.
Many people came here to the Supreme Court of India with hope, but they left disappointed. While a number of important observations have been made by the Chief Justice of India, for the queer community, nothing changes in their lives. With the Supreme Court now leaving the decision to the central government, the queer community feels that getting legal rights and recognition for their union is a distant dream. In New Delhi, with Rakesh Singh, Priyanshi Sharma for NDTV.
My colleague Abir also spoke to Onir, filmmaker and activist, who says this judgment takes him back to 2013.
What has been your reaction after reading what has been happening?
Since yesterday, actually, there was a lot of, I was anxious. At the same time, I was actually much more hopeful, and it kind of takes me back to 2013 when there was a huge sense of disappointment with the Supreme Court verdict. And now, of course, there's a lot of statements that were made by Justice Chandrachud, which is extremely heartening and important, be it the directives to the police, be it saying that transgender man and a transgender woman can marry. But being a gay person, I think it's extremely disappointing that the buck is passed on to the legislative, which unfortunately is governed by extremely majoritarian vote-banked politics, and sometimes you think that you've spent a lifetime waiting, and again now you're waiting and you're at the mercy of people who are primarily, a lot of them are homophobic, and it's kind of also extremely unfair. It makes you think that why my life is dependent on judgment where no one from my community has any say in what the judgment would be. There is no representation of the community deciding what is okay for a life. And even in the parliament, there is not, though we are told that, we are a sizable population, even if it's a minority, it's not a tiny minority, but we don't have any such representation in the parliament or anywhere in court to actually be deciding about what should happen with our lives.
Shifting focus now to the conflict between Israel and Hamas. Over 2,800 Palestinians now have been killed in the retaliatory attacks by the Israeli forces in Gaza. Meanwhile, at least 1,400 Israelis have also died in the conflict. Meanwhile, United States President Joe Biden is going to visit Israel on Wednesday. Over 100 have been killed in strikes at homes in South Gaza, and Iran has warned of preemptive action against Israel. Now, this is leading to an escalation as far as the war is concerned. Aid for Gaza is stuck at the borders. There is no diplomatic channel at this moment which has been able to get any breakthrough for the aid to reach the besieged Gaza Strip from the Rafah crossing with Egypt. The Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, has also said that the wars have rules clearly indicating that what is happening in the Gaza Strip is a humanitarian catastrophe. My colleague Maria Shakil earlier spoke to Noor Gilon. He is the Israeli ambassador to India about the diplomatic solution as far as this war is concerned.
There are efforts being made by the United States. Joe Biden is visiting Israel. It's a high-profile visit. Then there is Antony Blinken in the region holding talks. There are efforts being made by the United Kingdom as well. My first question would be, can there be a diplomatic solution to this ongoing war?
No, I don't think so. I think that the humanitarian aspects of the war, like releasing the Israeli hostages that were kidnapped, civilians, out of Israel into Gaza, for that can be a solution. But when it comes to Hamas, ISIS terror organization, there is no solution with them. The only solution to make sure that they cannot execute again horrific barbaric attacks like they did last Saturday is going after them and killing them. We don't see any other solution. Diplomatic would not, we would not risk having the same attack occur again on Israel.
Ambassador, does Israel still recognize the Palestine state? And if yes, in what form?
So there is no Palestinian state. There is a Palestinian Authority legally, just that's the fact of life. There is the Palestinian Authority. We do recognize the Palestinian Authority, but it has nothing to do with Gaza. So if you know the history, or I'll remind people, 2005, Israel left the disengagement I mentioned before from Gaza, so no Israelis in Gaza from that time on. We left Gaza really in the hands of the Palestinian Authority. Then 2 years later, there were elections, and soon after, Hamas violently was a smaller power, by the way. They had many, many less soldiers. They killed Palestinian Authority people, threw them off rooftops, and took over Gaza by force. So Palestinian Authority in no way is relevant in Gaza. They are the enemies in the real world. They are the enemies of, or Hamas is their enemies, also in Judea and Samaria, not only there, they're enemies. But anyhow, according to the Oslo Accords, which were never cancelled, we created the Palestinian Authority with Mahmoud Abbas as its president, and we do recognize them, yes.
With Israel so far not budging or not in fact moving from its position for any diplomatic solution, the visit of United States President Joe Biden to Israel on Wednesday would be a closely watched one. Now, what can we expect from this visit? Can there be a diplomatic solution, at least some humanitarian aid which can be sent to besieged Gaza? My colleague Mohammad Ghazali explains.
President Joe Biden heads to Israel at a critical juncture amid warnings, threats and troop movement in Gaza. On Sunday, he called on Netanyahu to allow aid into Gaza. His visit is illustrative of America's ironclad support to Netanyahu. And 2 American warships are offering support from the Mediterranean Sea. 2 lots of ground ammunition from the US have also reached the IDF. But this time around, President Joe Biden will keep the focus on de-escalation and getting humanitarian aid into Gaza. Currently, Israel receives around $3.8 billion in military aid from the US annually under a memorandum signed in 2019. And that's about 16% of Israel's total military budget in 2022. Now, President Biden's trip is going to be full of challenges. His normalization plan between Israel and Saudi Arabia has taken a hit. But he will also have to use symbolism of his presence to address multiple audiences, each with a subtly different message. He needs to win Egypt's confidence to implement its promise of opening Rafah border to refugees and aid. He also needs to convince the Saudis, the Qataris, Turks and others in the region that peace between Israel and Gaza is key to stability in the region. Putin's China visit also makes Joe Biden's truce bid even more critical. And as far as the ground offensive is concerned, perhaps the one reason why Israel has delayed it is the repeated threats from Lebanon-based Hezbollah, which has immense backing from Iran. President Biden's visit to Israel reinforces Washington's commitment to stability in West Asia and Israel's internal security. But will his visit bring any relief to Gaza residents and restore normalcy in the region is the question Netanyahu needs to answer.
Meanwhile, back home in India, 11 people, including 9 women, died in an explosion and at a cracker factory in Shivakasi. In fact, the tragedy took place when cracker samples were being tested. 2 other people have been injured and are being treated for their burn injuries. Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, M.K. Stalin, has sent his condolences to the bereaved families and has also announced 3 lakh rupee compensation for the deceased. Let me very quickly go across to my colleague Sam Daniel, who is joining us at this moment. Sam, as you were discussing this earlier, it is the frequency at which these accidents at this cracker hub take place that should be the cause of worry. What is the government doing to ensure that at least these accidents can be minimized?
Well, Ankit, investigation is underway. At the moment, we don't know what triggered this explosion, although the facts say that testing of fireworks made by these 2 units were going on when it happened. But fire safety experts, Ankit, point out that lack of training to the hundreds of workers in these units is a major cause, because in all these cases, at least 99% they say human error has triggered either fire or explosion. Particularly newly inducted workers are not given any training. They do not know how to handle chemicals, how the chemicals would respond and how they ought to protect themselves. All these things are not taught to them, or they're not subject to any kind of training, because of which these things go unabated. And 25 people have died in this month alone, the last 17 days, in 3 such incidents. And another one in neighboring Karnataka, 13 more have died. And authorities say, experts say it's time the government orders for a thorough audit, find out how much of these companies or factories comply with training norms and make sure this doesn't continue like this.
Sam, thank you for joining us with all those details. Moving on now to some politics in the state which are election bound. The Congress has released its manifesto in Madhya Pradesh, making a slew of promises. In fact, 59 promises on different issues have been made as far as the Congress party is concerned. The manifesto specifically catering to women, the youth and also to the OBCs. Some of the promises include 25 lakh rupee health cover for all citizens of the state, 27% reservation for the OBCs, and to form even an IPL team for the state. The Congress has listed 59 of its promises in this 106-page manifesto with assurances for all sections of the society, including farmers, women and government employees. Remember, Madhya Pradesh is heading to elections in November. In fact, on November 17th, the state will be voting and the results will be out on the 3rd of December along with other 4 states. The BJP, meanwhile, where the Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan has already made a slew of promises in the last 6 months, has called Congress's manifesto empty guarantees.
कांग्रेस पार्टी के जो वचन देती है वो वचन पूरी करती है। मैं प्रदेश के सभी समाजों के संगठन, व्यवसायिक संगठन, कर्मचारी संगठन एवं अन्य संगठन जो मुझे मिले, संगठनों ने अपनी तरफ से भी अपने सुझाव दिए, मैं उन्हें आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। हमारे वचन पत्र समिति को भी मैं धन्यवाद देता हूं।
कांग्रेस का वचन पत्र नहीं, ये झूठ पत्र है। 5 साल पहले भी उनने 900 से ज्यादा वचन दिए थे जनता को, उनमें से 9 भी पूरे नहीं किए। आज तक लोग तरस रहे हैं, नौजवान 4000 बेरोजगारी भत्ता कब मिलेगा, समर्थन मूल्य पर बोनस कब मिलेगा, समूहों का कर्जा कब माफ होगा। एक नहीं अनेकों वचन दिए थे, सारे के सारे झूठे निकले।
All right, moving on. In fact, BJP MP Nishikant Dubey's cash for query complaint against Trinamool Congress MP Mahua Moitra has been referred to Lok Sabha Ethics Committee. Nishikant Dubey, the BJP MP, has alleged that Mahua Moitra took bribes to ask questions in the parliament on behalf of businessman Darshan Hiranandani to target the Adani Group and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The BJP MP wrote to Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla on Sunday, accusing Ms. Moitra of breach of parliamentary privilege, contempt of House and criminal conspiracy. Meanwhile, Ms. Moitra has said that she welcomes any kind of inquiry. She has also sent defamation notice to Nishikant Dubey and others. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will unveil the first stretch of the Rapid Rail on Friday. The first phase of 17 kilometers Rapid Rail will cover 5 stations between Delhi and Meerut. Now, this system is going to reduce the travel time between Delhi and Meerut to just 60 minutes. My colleague Himanshu, in fact, boarded this train to get you these exclusive visuals. Take a look.
India's first RRTS Rapid X train will become operational on 20th October when Prime Minister Modi will inaugurate it. I'm in the Rapid X train now, and as you can see behind me, this is a very high-tech train coach that has been set up for this India's first RRTS Rapid X Rapid Rail service. And as you can see, there are comfortable seats here, very different from what we see in Delhi Metro. And there are also seats which are reclining seats, like in a Shatabdi train or in an economy class of an aircraft. And this makes it different from Delhi Metro because the distance is large. It's a total distance that this train will cover when it becomes fully operational in June 2025 is 82 kilometers. Normally from Meerut to Delhi, if you travel by a mail express train, the total time that it takes is around 1.5 hours. If you travel by a local train, the time is more than 2 hours. But RRTS train service, Rapid X Rail Seva, once it becomes fully operational, will take just 55 to 60 minutes. And you can see these are very stylish seats, very comfortable seats that have been put in place here because the distance is much larger. The important thing is that there are 6 coaches in this train, and one is a premium class coach where the fare would be more than a standard coach. 4 standard coaches like this, and 1 coach which has been reserved for women commuters. The first phase of the Rapid X train service will be 17 kilometers long and it will cover 5 stations. As you can see, we are now around Sahibabad now. It starts from Sahibabad, goes to Ghaziabad, then Guldhar, Duhai and Duhai Depot. There are 5, these are 5 stations on the right side. The same is written in English as well for those people who are more comfortable in English. There are also digital screens which shows where exactly we are located now. You can see in the screen, and the train speed is also visible here. It is now 105 kilometers per hour, and the train speed is now gradually increasing. We have seen during this run the speed had increased up to 146 kilometers per hour, and this is going to be a completely new experience for commuters living in Meerut and Delhi NCR region. Imagine a train which can run at a speed of 160 kilometers per hour, will be plying on this route between Meerut and Delhi. It's a 82 kilometer stretch, and normally if you travel by a mail express train, the time that it takes is around 1.5 hours. If you travel by local train, the time could be more than 2 hours. But this train, once it becomes fully operational in June 2025, will take just 55 to 60 minutes.
And finally, Waheeda Rehman, the legendary actor, has been honoured with the Dada Saheb Phalke Award in the national capital today, Indian cinema's top honour. In fact, after getting this award, she said that she got to work with the best of the directors and dedicated her award to her makeup, hair, artist and others. Now, this was at the 69th National Film Awards. We have a variety of films winning big. Our Madhavan's film Rocketry, The Nambi Effect, has won the best feature film this year, while Allu Arjun is the first Telugu actor to receive the Best Actor award. Alia Bhatt won the Best Actress award as well.
Charismatic performance of an underdog challenging an entire corrupt system. Iconic role certainly deserves another round. Alia Bhatt's versatile performance of an innocent girl. The Mimi gets the award for his sensitive performance of the story of a surrogate mother facing social backlash and personal internal conflict. The National Film Awards in this category, a soulful rendition of a song about the spirit of freedom, which certainly gives us goosebumps. Shreya Ghoshal for giving us the melody.
बहुत शुक्रिया अदा करती हूँ, उन्होंने मुझे अवार्ड दिया. I feel very honored, very humbled. मगर आज जहाँ जिस मुकाम पे मैं खड़ी हूँ, ये सारा मेरी प्यारी इंडस्ट्री की वजह से है. मुझे लकीली बहुत अच्छे टॉप डायरेक्टर्स, प्रोड्यूसर्स, फिल्म मेकर्स, टेक्नीशियंस, राइटर्स, डायलॉग राइटर्स, म्यूजिक डायरेक्टर्स और संगीतकार सबका बहुत सहारा मिला.
बहुत ही बड़ा मोमेंट है as usual. I mean as but obvious. और I'm very grateful. Thank you.
It's a great moment. It's the highest honor of the nation.